Hey guys, Prickly Hedgehog here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about why it's a really good time to get involved in flight combat simulators right now. That was a bit of a mouthful. Flight combat simulators. It shouldn't be a mouthful, just that my brain is getting a little addled here. Yeah, Eagle Dynamics, if you're not familiar with that particular franchise, which is what you're looking at right now, have produced a large number of aircraft for us and maps on which to fly and play. They include servers as well, with which pilots can get together and check out their wares and cooperate and get into one-on-one scraps, so on and so forth. So there is a solo kind of component to it, where you get time to sort of spend with your aircraft and fly around various environments, practice some of the skills and learn the aircraft systems. And then if you want to get into more cooperative play, you can do that as well on the multiplayer servers. So right now this is a great time, as I said, to get involved in flight simulators, because DCS and Eagle Dynamics have really cornered the market in this genre. They are renowned as being some of the most challenging and realistic combat flight simulators available to us right now. Now, there's another special reason why it's a good time to get involved. We have, at this time, as I've hinted at, a large array of aircraft to choose from. The franchise takes us across several eras, if you like, within our history. So going back to the World War II birds, we have the iconic Spitfire, we have the Focke-Wulf, we have the well-renowned Mustang, which was the stalwart, if you like, of the latter part of World War II with the American Air Force. And of course, we also move into the Cold War era, where we have things like the F-86 Sabre, the MiG-15 and the MiG-19. And then moving into more of the 70s and 80s, we now have a large collection of aircraft available to us, right down to the MiG-21 and now the F-14B, which was the latest release by Heat Blur Simulations, which is a fantastic aircraft. And it's one of the few aircraft that also offers the addition of a Rio, and that you can do co-op and have two players involved in the same aircraft by having your radar operator and communications officer in the back, as well as you as the pilot, or whichever role you want. So the F-14B has been one of the more interesting introductions to the game. It's beautifully rendered, that aircraft. It's difficult to fly compared to, say, the F-18, or the F-18 has a lot more sophisticated systems within it. In terms of flight characteristics, the F-14 is a lot more raw, and definitely one of the most iconic American aircraft to have come out of the 1970s, certainly made famous by the Top Gun movie, which probably really cemented its fate as an iconic aircraft. It's beautiful, though. It's very large and powerful. Much more, as I said, organic, a more raw kind of flying experience compared to, say, the F-18, which is more of a fly-by-wire type system, and is much smoother to fly in terms of its handling characteristics, but it is much more sophisticated in terms of the avionics and the weapon systems that are available to it. So, I'm not trying to get into a pissing contest here about which aircraft is better, so don't get me wrong. I'm not doing that. I'm just talking about some of the experiences that I've had with it. So really, right now, as I said, it's a great time to be a sim pilot, just because we have such a wide array of aircraft available to us. And there's very few franchises out there that offer this collection of aircraft presented in such detail. These are individual modules that I'm talking about too. So there are some, if you download DCS or the Flaming Cliffs 3 module, you'll get some free aircraft to choose from, predominantly Russian, and the F-15 is in there as well, I think. And you can also use I think it's the A-10 Lightning or Thunderbolt, which is the ground attack, the Warthog, it's also known as. Great aircraft. I haven't spent much time on that, but there are some not full fidelity aircraft available to you within that franchise to get you kind of started. And then if you really enjoy that, then you can then maybe, if you have the cash flow, purchase some of these separate modules and get into a little bit more detail with some of these aircraft. So it should be stressed that these are all study sims that I have predominantly mentioned, these separate modules, the F-14, the F-18, particularly. These are study sims. You'll need to spend a little bit more time getting to grips with these aircraft. The F-18 particularly is very sophisticated multifunction displays, which provide a lot of flexibility. You can do a lot with that particular aircraft. You've got some very interesting systems and sensors on it, and it just is a little bit more involved than, say, some of the World War II birds, which no less satisfying to fly, but obviously don't carry the array of avionics that the modern jets, which is a no-brainer. So just expect, if you're going to get involved in this franchise, it's going to be a steep learning curve. Now, Ecodynamics have talked about a dynamic campaign, which, for those unfamiliar with that, it's usually a campaign that means that you get involved in and your actions can contribute to winning or losing that campaign. The last dynamic campaign that I can think of that I played was, I think it was Falcon 4, and also I think EF 2000, way back in the 90s, so that's how long I've been playing flight sims for, also produced a dynamic campaign, which was really interesting. Was sort of set in Norway, parts of Sweden, which was a lot of fun. So it'd be very interesting to see if Ecodynamics are able to produce that. I think that would be a real winner for those pilots who do not wish to play cooperatively on the multiplayer servers, which are available. The other thing that's very, very exciting right now is we also have talk of the F-16, and the Viper, as it's more colloquially known amongst pilots, which is a deadly aircraft. That will round out, I think, to a certain extent, the F designation aircraft that we have, because we have the F5, we have the F-18, which was released afterwards, which, as I said, is very, very sophisticated, the F-14, that iconic aircraft, and then the F-16. The F-15 is available for play. It's not a full fidelity module right now. It is available in that Flaming Cliffs module as part of the various other aircraft that are available in there, which I said included the A-10, I think the Su-27, Su-33, and also the Su-25 is also part of that group. So, there are a huge number of aircraft to fly, and there are, I guess you could say, a number of different aircraft available for different comfort levels, interest levels, and experience levels. You can go right up to the full fidelity, such as the F-18. And we also have the MiG-21, which I mentioned, but also the Harrier as well, which is a RASBAM module. I've just been playing that recently. Very, very interesting aircraft to fly. Again, full fidelity cockpit. Everything's clickable just about, and takes a little bit of time to get used to the flight characteristics of that. So there's something for everyone. The release of the Viper, I think, is going to be very interesting. I'm hoping to see, I think, was it the A5 that they were looking at, maybe the Intruder or a variant on that. There is now also an update coming for the Ka-50 helicopter, so I shouldn't rule out, I forgot to mention this, in addition to the fixed wing aircraft, there's a small swag of rotary wing aircraft. So we have the Black Shark, the Ka-50 Black Shark, which was released some time ago. In fact, that's what I first got involved in the franchise, was the Ka-50 attack helicopter, which is going to be, as I said, remodeled. Looks fantastic, beautiful aircraft, very, very deadly. We have the Huey, there is the Gazelle, and the Mi-8, I believe, as well. So there's quite a number of rotary wing aircraft to choose from too. So this is when you start adding up, I know that there are fans in the community that are quite critical sometimes of Ecodynamics and how long it takes them to produce some of these aircraft, and the constant fiddling with them afterwards as they need to be adjusted based on the changing parameters within the DCS world, but and updates and so on and so forth. But when you look at the number of aircraft that we have available to us and how detailed some of them are, it's a fantastic franchise to be involved with. And again, I just want to stress, this is a fantastic time to get involved in flight sims. And I think those F-16 pilots that have been playing BFM, Falcon 4, if you are sitting in that camp and looking for a new aircraft to jump into, a more updated F-16, then this is the time to start thinking about it, because I suspect, based on the detail that I've seen with the F-18, we're going to enjoy the F-16. Now, one of the other things that's exciting about this particular franchise is the amount of work that's gone into the aircraft operations on board aircraft carriers. So not only do we have land-based aircraft and land-based operations, we are now able to pretty effectively and pretty realistically enjoy carrier-based operations. And this is an extreme challenge. Trying to recover even in Case 1 landings during the day with relatively calm seas, this is an extremely difficult thing to do, and I have to say, I gotta tip my hat right now to all Navy pilots, because you guys are phenomenal. Anyone that can land an aircraft of any type on a pitching deck at night or day, that's an incredible amount of skill. I don't care who you are, and guys like John McCain, may he rest in peace, who did this way back in the Vietnam War, when we didn't have all the sophisticated avionics that we have now, and still able to land a Skyhawk on a deck like that. That's a phenomenal thing to do. So just tip of the hat again to all Navy crews who operate around the world, keeping us safe and extending the reach of our peacekeeping abilities, if you like, and deterrent factors. Those guys are doing a phenomenal job, because it is flipping difficult to do in the simulator, and I can't even imagine doing it in real life. So that whole component is really exciting, and one that provides, again, just an extra level of excitement and a level of complexity and a level of fun to this franchise that you don't get with too many others that I can think of right now. And that level of detail is going to increase. I think there is going to be a separate module for carrier operations, with a large aircraft carrier to be installed into the game, and which will provide dynamic aircrew as well. So when you delve into this franchise once again, and just to kind of wrap up here, it is phenomenally detailed, it is extremely immersive, and bottom line, it's also a lot of fun. The satisfaction doesn't come instantaneously, unfortunately. It does take some time to get into it, and I'm trying to spend some more time this year getting into it. I've been obviously involved in a lot of other franchises. There's so many other games out there, but this is one that I've been frustrated that I haven't spent more time on, just learning the systems and getting more familiar with it. As I'm getting older now, I find it definitely a lot more challenging. The ability to pick up aircraft and just absorb a lot of information at once is quite challenging, so it's good for my old brain, I think. So for you younger pilots that are getting into it, good luck to you. For anybody else who's interested in this franchise, feel free to like the video, give me some feedback, and I hope to see you out there on maybe on one of these, when I feel a little bit more confident, one of these multiplayer servers. And I want to stress too, there is a very large community of flight simmers out there, and a large community of people attached to this DCS World franchise who are full of helpful tips, and groups out there who can offer pilot training, so on and so forth. A lot of Facebook community groups as well who offer assistance too if you're struggling. So take advantage of that, do some reading, spend some time doing the study sim angle on it. Good luck to you, and hope you've enjoyed the video. We'll leave you a little bit with some images here from the game. Take care, guys. Prickly Hedgehog out. We'll see you out there.
While you descend, let's go through the game plan for the rest of the sortie. I'll do the overview now, as once you begin the break, there won't be much time to go into detail. Ready? As has been mentioned before, we will perform an overhead brake. That means that you will arrive over the runway flying at 800 feet AGL and with a speed of 350 knots indicated airspeed. Once the end of the runway disappears from your view beneath the nose of the aircraft, you will make a 4G level turn to your right, reduce throttle to idle, and intercept 10 units AOA. You will hold that turn for 180 degrees until you are flying alongside of the runway but in the opposite direction, or 244 degrees magnetic.
Cabo Lady, Dodge 1-1, inbound. Dodge 1-1, Cabo Lady, fly heading 250.
This part is called the downwind leg. You'll want to exit the turn at or below 250 knots and then descend to around 600 feet AGL. Once there, you will stay in level flight and perform the following landing checklist.
Dodge 1-1, cleared for visual, contact tower. Dodge 1-1, Cabo Lady, check landing gear. Wind 071 at 2 meters per second.
Alright, 4G right turn, reduce throttle, intercept, and keep 10 units. Level off when running parallel to the runway.
Dodge 1-1, Cabo Lady, check landing gear. Wind 071 at 2 meters per second. Runway
Good, descend to 600 feet, stay below 250 knots indicated, fly straight. Landing checklist, gear down, flaps auto, duct and brake pressure checks good, water not required, nozzles aft, warning and caution lights are out. Also set the master mode to V-stall and switch to radar altimeter. Turn right again, try to keep AOA between 10 and 12 units. Aim at 200 feet for final approach. Lower the landing gear. Keep flaps in auto mode. Check that the stow stop is clear and stowed aft. Check for positive duct pressure. Check that the brake pressure is 2700 psi with pedals depressed, and make sure that the water switch is set as required for landing performance. Alright, 4G right turn, reduce throttle, intercept, and keep 10 units. Level off when running parallel to the runway. will drive to between 1.3 to 1.5 abeam, which means around half the length of the runway beyond its starting point. Make sure that the nozzles are fully aft at 0 degrees and recheck that your flaps are in auto. Also, it is advised to switch to the radar altimeter at this point and enter the VSTOL HUD master mode. You should be slowed to 10 to 12 units of AOA at between 65 to 75% power. You will then turn towards the runway. For reference, use the two small legs near turn right again. Try to keep AOA between 10 and 12 units. Aim at 200 feet for final approach. At around 50 feet AGL, place the witch's hat at 2 degrees above the horizon. Continue to control your rate of descent with a throttle and attitude with a stick, and maintain 12 units of AOA.
Dodge 1-1. Cobra ready. Check landing gear. Wind 071 at 2 meters per second. Runway 07.
On a full stop landing, at touchdown you would set the throttle to idle and make sure that you're rolling straight with the pedals neutralized before engaging nose wheel steering. You would then set the nozzles for power nozzle braking, P and B, trim for 2 degrees nose down and set the throttle to 70%. However, as this will be a touch and go landing, immediately after touchdown, I want you to increase the throttle to full and allow the aircraft to take off again. Check your speed, and that's about it. I will now let you focus on your approach. Make sure to align your aircraft with the course line. Arrive over the witch's hat to 2 degrees above horizon. Control descent with the throttle. You are on the ground. Good. Now increase throttle and take off. Climb to 1,500 feet MSL, turn left to heading 250, and then continue on that course for 20 miles. So what do you think? Not as easy as it may seem, is it? We will perform another touch and go, then egress again and go for a full stop after the third overhead brake. When you are far enough, turn back towards Capoletti, align with the runway, and try the whole procedure once more. If you like, I can repeat the long version of the instructions for you.